This conference will now be recorded.
I put a bug in the park board there to finish.
Get a fence around it, make 4 or 5 cords.
Oh, instead of that. Officially.
That's all good, all, or?
And if there's no fence, so you hit the ball, you're chasing it half the time. Okay, we're good.
Recent time of the meeting, 5:30, we'll call it to order. The first item of the agenda is the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
None from staff, sir.
We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say.
Okay.
Either one.
All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0-0. Okay, minutes from the last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes. As is.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 5-0-0. Earlier to the schedule for the public hearing, so what would your pleasure? Should we check into the old business item first?
We can, although that may take a little bit longer. So if you want to, we could start early and I can introduce the topic.
Right, let's just review the topic and then we'll open the hearing.
Sounds good to me. So Adam and Jennifer McKinney, who are here in attendance tonight, they are seeking to rezone their parcel at 10 Jefferson Drive. They're currently located in Industrial 2 and they would like to move into residential. They are a residential house. So they currently pay into Industrial 2 taxes and we would like to move them somewhere more suitable. And staff-wise, we want to put them in residential 2 since that's the closest adjacent zone to them. Since they're kind of on that township line, that the closest residential zone is residential 2. So we feel as though that's the most suitable for them. And we are opening the public hearing tonight. And so we can have public input and your consideration to move to council.
The difference between residential 2 and residential 1?
It's minimal. There's really no suitable differences other than maybe like setbacks and things like that. And their property is a little bit unique anyway. So we were just kind of putting it somewhere where it's closest to where we've already zoned other properties. So it's a little bit cleaner, mostly in my eyes, to be honest with you, but.
Some time scheduled.
Yeah.
About time scheduled, so we'll call the hearing open for public comments. Would you like to say anything in regards to?
My wife and I acquired the property in 2020, and as discussed, we didn't know that it was industrial 2.
Mm-hmm.
And with increasing taxes and cost of everything, we found out that it was industrial 2, and for monetary reasons and livability, we would like to drop our taxes. And to our understanding, the biggest difference between industrial 2 and then it was residential 1, I'd be interested to know what residential 2 is amount of buildings, size of buildings, and then what you can do inside those buildings. And we have no interest in turning our property into a business that would require such buildings. So being that it is a residential house, that is the reason that we would like to turn have the zone switched.
Was it Airbnb at one time? Or not?
It was, yes.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yep.
To add on to it as well, I honestly don't know why it was in industrial 2 in the first place, because I have a copy of our ordinance here, but from industrial 2, there's no permitted use for residential zoning whatsoever in industrial. So I don't know. I think it was maybe just grandfathered in. It should have been in commercial if it was in commercial use, but now it's no longer. So doesn't really make any logical sense. And in my eyes and staff eyes, it makes a lot more sense to have them in a residential zone.
No other comments from the public? We'll call the public hearing closed and open for discussion for the committee members.
Sounds logical to me.
I guess one question, how many buildings besides the house are on the property?
There is, so every structure that is not the house. is
Right, right.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 for the gazebo.
Okay, gazebo, I don't think the gazebo would
We don't
count,
count
would it?
it.
No. Gazebo wouldn't count.
Okay, so,
It's the barn,
yep,
the coop,
yep,
the, gray one,
Yep.
and then the old coop.
and the detached garage.
I already said that. Oh, the detached garage, I
Yep.
see, okay.
So there's 5.
I guess, is this going to come in conflict with like what we had on that Schuman property with the number of outbuildings?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Exactly. Mhm.
How many other buildings are in the, over an acre and a quarter, we changed it to 3, I believe, was it? Or what was it?
That's a good question. I do not know the answer.
Yeah, I think
but
with
I have the ordinance here.
With an acre, couldn't they have 4 now?
I can't remember what it was.
I think that's what it was.
If it does matter, we are 4.2 acres.
Okay.
And how many buildings again?
5 on the side.
5, okay.
One of them needs to come down because the roof is falling through.
So you could take it down to 4 then?
Yep.
Now, this zone that we put them in could change too. We haven't decided. That could be something that we discuss as well. So that could still change and we could have council talk about that as well. So it's not set in stone yet. That was more of a staff comment on my end, just saying, put them in a adjacent zoning. So we can still change that to make it.
Makes sense, but I think R1 would be more restrictive in that number of buildings than 2 anyways. So.
Yeah. And as far as I know, I don't know exactly what that would look like. I think the only thing we have is like maximum site coverage. And
We had another property that had 5, 6
Many.
little buildings, and they wanted to build another one.
Have you seen the
Oh,
new, have you seen the new garage?
So another, sorry, but.
Have you seen his new garage?
Because of that, we changed the ordinance, because it used to be just 2 outbuildings in addition to the house. And then by the sides of the lot, we changed it to more. And I don't remember what the numbers were.
okay, that's good to know because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, we had talked about 4 buildings on 1 acre then.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. That one would be okay there. Any other thoughts or concerns about this? The neighbors expanding at all, the Comcast or any? Would this make any difference as far as the other businesses next door wanting to expand?
As far as I know, no. And currently, I believe Comcast has they do have a site plan to redevelop what they're working on right now. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but
They haven't approached you about it.
and we don't have any concerns right now of
Mhm.
them trying to.
Well, I was thinking of
Doing anything.
setbacks from the industrial too, if they did rezone it then, or redevelop it then.
Yeah.
We'll have to watch that.
Yep.
Did it go through the council? They said 4 buildings on 1 acre? I mean, is that passed and,
Whatever we said, it was passed,
They
but I
did.
don't remember what it was.
okay.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I think we moved it up to 4 after the Schuman deal.
I was thinking 3 also, but that's what I can't remember. Was there any other questions or discussion on this?
What is the difference between 1 and 2, and why would you do 1 versus 2?
Well, it's more of a matter of like the type of housing that goes in there. So it's usually like the difference is, so like R3 is multi-family housing. So it's like 1 to 8 people, 1 to 8 families on an acre kind of lots. And residential 1 is a little bit more spaced out. So it's basically just how large your lots are, how big the houses are, what type of housing is going in there. And our zoning's a little bit weird, and we were talking about this earlier, is that like there's just a lot of differences and discrepancies between the two. And so I don't know how much it matters a ton. They all kind of blend together in different ways. It's just more of sectioning them off so we know what's going where. So like we're not putting an apartment building right next to, large lots of acreage and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Is it a big tax difference
It's mostly on the value of the home that we do it based off. And the differences are going to be largely between commercial and industrial, compared to just residential, regular housing.
My understanding R1 is 1.25, you know what R2 is?
Not off the top of my head, no. I would have to look and see. And this number can change here. I can pull it up as well.
I don't have a problem switching with the rezoning, but if we're rezoning something to something that there were already too many buildings in there,
Yeah,
that,
no,
I mean, then all of a sudden we gotta come back.
Does it matter though? They've got 4 acres versus the 1 versus,
Is it 4 buildings per acre or anything?
if it was a 1 acre lot, then they could have
It was
4
a-
buildings.
Yeah, it was like,
Over an acre lot?
Right. It had to be 1 acre, I mean, minimum.
Right.
That's why I
they've got
understood.
it was
4.2.
incremental, it was 2 buildings or 3 buildings or,
Yeah, the smaller the lot, the less the building.
right. So foolish not having checked that.
I have nothing in here about
Do we
acreage.
want to have a motion that we can put a recommendation to the city council? Okay. Floor is open for a motion.
I recommend that we push this
to the city council.
Recommend approving it.
recommend approving it.
Mhm. I'll second it.
It's been moved and second to recommend approving this zoning change to the city council. Is there any other discussion?
And then you'll remove 1 building. You'll be down to 4.
That's what's required.
I know you can't have 5.
Yeah, well, we'll have that more information when it comes to council too, so
Yeah.
that'll come into their
To
discussion.
add, I will also speak with our attorney to make sure that we're doing it correctly and put it in the right spot.
So, been moved and seconded to recommend the city council approving the zoning change. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Abstain?
That would be me.
Okay. Motion carries 501. Or 501 to be proper. Okay, thank you.
Will that go to council tomorrow or Thursday night? No?
It will be on council Thursday night as well. I'm sticking it on the agenda tomorrow. So I'll have this on council agenda for Thursday.
Maybe more information if it's per acre or whatever it might be.
Yep, I'll try to contact you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, the next old business is a reconsideration of a variance for the, the city council suggested that we reconsider the variance request. And this was the fact that we had already reduced the setbacks to 30 feet from 35, and now they want to go to 25 on this parcel.
Yep. Same variance as we considered before last month. They're looking to build a new home at 868 Gulfview Avenue. They're calling for a covered screen and porch to be placed in the rear yard. It'll encroach the setback by 5 feet. You previously amended it from 35 to 30. And we went to public hearing on April 8th, and Planning Commission recommended denying it. City Council directed us to reconsider it for a few reasons. One of them being that Councilman Rash was unable to attend, and so it would have been a split vote is what they were anticipating. And the city attorney recommended that you don't take action on a variance if it's going to be a split vote. And then secondly, one of the council members mentioned that potentially there might be an issue because the property has a slope, and that could be a unique hardship for them. And so that legally speaking, we may not be able to deny a variance in that case. However, it's still, up for consideration. It's still your choice whether council decides.
How much of a
How
slope
big
is
is,
that?
how much is the slope?
To do with it.
It would be that the property is unique enough where that the way it would be built is on a slope. That was just his 2 cents.
Could be resituated and could it be, could they
Well,
skew the?
I spoke with the developer, and of course, like, the house is not built yet, so they can still change plans. And his thinking was that we should probably just change the plans, but that's not what the property owner wanted to do. He wants to go through this route and get through this. Whether or not it ends up happening or not is ultimately your choice. But it was just one thing that Councilmember Munson raised was just like potentially because of that, it could be considered a hardship if you were to press it, potentially.
Why would it be considered a hardship if it was a
Because
slope?
Because the property would be unique in the sense that you have to encroach into the setback. It's not really my
No, I
interpretation.
know
but-
what you're saying.
Is this a walkout in the back house?
I don't really know for sure.
I mean, it's a drop off. I mean, yeah, the only thing you can do is a walkout on it, and I don't know what the slope would change.
If anything, if you're measuring on the slope, if they measure it this way, they're gonna have a longer distance than if they measured it flat anyway, which
And the slope is
they're
there.
already cheated even more.
I don't know. At the last meeting, I said, at what point do we say?
Enough is enough.
Right.
Yeah, because
And
we've already,
I know some will say to me, says, well, he's a developer and he might not come and build houses. And it's like, well.
Yeah.
It'd been different to me if it was, he was asking from 35 to 30, like we already changed it now.
yeah,
I mean, you can make the house 5 foot smaller,
Oh, I'm looking at, is this a 5-foot table or is this a 6-foot table?
6 foot,
So
five, at least.
it would be,
5 feet.
okay, so this is, it's not like it's, in my mind, it's not that big of a deal, but I understand where you're coming from. I understand, can't keep moving it.
But why did the city bring it back then? I mean, they have the power to overrule whatever we decide.
Yes, but they were, because you were unfortunately absent, they would have been a split vote is kind of what was seeming. Yeah, they were seeming to be going that direction. And the city attorney recommended that we shouldn't do that because then it kind of just goes nowhere. So it was mostly so they could send it back.
They're just delaying tactic.
Kind of, yeah. And it was just more so maybe we protect ourselves from liability if that were to happen, since there was no resolution finding a fact that was able to be passed or not. And then our 60-day limit also ended as well. So I had to extend that with the developer anyways to make sure that if we would have passed that and that didn't happen and we didn't vote on it, it would have been automatically approved by state law. So
Another thought, if it's an elevated on a slope, if you're encroaching 5 feet, that's gonna look like even more of an encroachment because it is up so high. If they've got that deck level with the house.
yeah, and
So it's gonna look even worse than it might otherwise.
right. And to be honest with you, I don't even know how large that slope is. I don't know what it looks like. And I know obviously it abuts the golf course, so it might come down into the golf course, but I don't know what that looks like. And I don't know really how significant that is compared to another property that might be on a hill, let's say.
There's 2 houses on each side of this empty lot that are
I think I know which side it is too,
already
yeah.
built.
I'm sure they have the proper setbacks.
There's a picture up here on the screen.
I'm assuming they have the proper setbacks. I don't think it'd be right, my opinion, that,
How deep a lot is that?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my
what's the
head.
picture show? Doesn't really show.
It is pretty sloped, if I'm not mistaken.
But that did
Right.
not come up with, he did not present it that way to us.
Right.
It was not presented that way to us, and in our plans, we didn't see anything that way.
To me, like I said, I think the slope would make it more intrusive than otherwise.
Uniqueness of the property, they were just asking.
But the other ones next to it are slopey too.
Correct.
So I don't see that as real unique to this parcel.
The issue is also that it would have to pass our, unique hardship test anyway. And one of them is that we can't take economic considerations into factor. And so
Good.
the fact that the house isn't even built is, one of the things that I would consider a unique hardship is if the house is already built. So when we talked about Arlen Olson's, the house has been built for decades and has been there for a long time. So it's a unique property because it was grandfathered into all these laws and these ordinances.
And that's,
But this is brand new,
Mhm.
so it could still be changed. And the developer even said that himself as well.
So just a question, you're an architect, so 5 feet in a room, is a big deal, cutting that out. 5 feet on a golf course,
On a porch.
on a porch isn't that big of a deal visually. It makes a big difference interior wise. to change plans that much, is that expensive? Is that the hardship? I mean, I'm thinking as a homeowner too.
Yeah.
The visual on 5 feet on a piece of land isn't that big of a deal.
Well,
In your house,
And
it's
the
a big deal.
builder, if the builder
Porch, so
wasn't
does
too
that
worried about it, I
really
guess that's.
make
that's
that a
a lot.
difference that way?
No, and it's a larger developer
Well,
anyway,
yeah,
so he
true.
wasn't too concerned, to be honest with you. He said he's been working with him for a while now, and he recommended not going this route, but the owner just wanted to try it
You recommend not going what route?
with a variance.
Oh,
The
The developer did?
Oh.
The developer did, but the
Oh.
owner.
I spoke with him like about 2 weeks ago. He came in and I chatted with him a little bit. It's probably to do the extension for the 60-day rule as well.
So the proper course of action for us would be that we reconsidered it, and I guess we would take another vote to enforce or reinstate what our position might be. So the floor would be open for a motion.
We did, I said this last time, we did reduce it once by 5 feet.
Mhm.
And if we do it again, what's going to happen next time?
Right. I think the discussion kind of leads one way here, so we just need a motion about.
So I understand though too, if it goes into effect, then it's good for everybody that wants a variance, that it's a 25-foot variance then, or is it conditioned
No,
to
it
the
doesn't.
properties?
It doesn't change the ordinance.
This is just,
No.
this is a particular one,
Just that one.
Just for
because
this
it's unique to
property.
the, yeah.
But if there were others, however,
It would have to pass all the criteria to be granted a variance.
Okay.
So it has to meet all of what we've talked about, basically. So like if one of these things is not unique to the property or a plight of the landowner, then it shouldn't be granted, legally speaking.
Sloping lots next door, I guess I have a hard time saying it's unique to this particular parcel.
So what did the lawyer say about that? What's this criteria?
He didn't make a recommendation from what I'm remembering, but I think that the staff recommendation has been denial of this variance because of what our previous actions have already done and that the house isn't built. It would be different if the house is already built and then maybe they wanted to add on this porch and say, well, because my lot is sloped, can I get a variance so I can move in 5 more feet?
Mhm.
That might be different
Yeah.
under our recommendation.
Dorothea, they had built already the house. It's on the back of that cul-de-sac. They had built it with the enclosed porch and they were too close. And they made it, if I remember right, you could have a roof over your deck and be that close to the property line, but they had it as a room. And they had it, I think they had to take the walls down.
Yep. And one reason for this encroachment is because it is a screened-in porch. So if it was open, they wouldn't need to do it. So that's also another piece to consider as well.
And that may be fishing here too, but we're by a golf course, we get 5 foot closer to there. And then the next people that come in and all of a sudden the golf balls are hitting, oh, why did you have a?
Yeah, but that's their own problem. That's what I tell this guy. You want to get close to the golf course. I mean, it's still quite a ways away, really.
The owner, you mean?
The owner.
But I
yeah.
mean, I always look at when they sell it to people, to somebody else.
Oh.
He knows about it and they'll know about it too, but I don't know, I just.
Again, I'll call for a motion.
I make a motion. We deny the request for the variance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of recommending the denial of the variance, say aye.
Aye. Do you want a roll call vote?
Yes, could we get a roll call for that, please?
Okay, Bev?
Roll call. Oh, did I? Yes.
Aye, one.
Aye.
Aye. I'll vote yes. Fred?
Aye.
Connie?
No, nay.
Okay. Kim?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion to recommend denial passes 5-0 or 5-1-0. Okay. Next item is the new business. Apparently GFA is looking for a variance now.
Yep. Yes, BFA is seeking a variance. They want to post 3 signs within the city right of way. The signs are going to be used for navigation for truck drivers. So when they come in, so they can drop off their goods, and so they have, better navigation, basically. The signs are going to be 5 feet tall by 3 feet wide. I attached some building plans for this as well because they gave me some great looking plans, to be honest. And staff recommends setting a public hearing for the June 10th Planning Commission meeting. Yeah, but they're going to go into the ground. Maybe I mistyped that.
Top of
That
the
might-
sign would be 5 foot here. Top of the sign would be 5 foot, but the sign itself is 2 by 3. Okay.
So is the problem that there'll be 3 signs? Is that,
The problem is that they're going to go in the city right away, and our ordinance says they have to be at least 10 feet off the city right away.
Oh.
However, when you look at like the picture here, and there's a better one on the end,
Yeah.
they don't have a lot of grass. So they don't really have anywhere to put it. And so they're basically just wanting to put it right on the road so the truck drivers see it,
Mhm.
but they can't legally do that because it's in the right of way.
What does the right of way exactly mean? It's in the right of way, what does that mean?
It means that's the area that the city controls, so that if we, for public infrastructure, like if we needed to access the utility lines, we'd be able to do that because we own the right of way. So the city has access to that. That's why on a property, it doesn't go up to the curb. That like 5 feet that's the city, so that we can do public improvements as needed.
Here would be if the signs are going to be blocking the person's view when they're coming out of the lot, but I
are there
guess,
driveways there where they are?
yeah. I guess would there be a motion to schedule a public hearing for this next month? Okay, Kim moved, Connie seconded that we schedule a public hearing for probably 5:35 on whatever date the next month's meeting is.
June,
In the minutes.
yeah.
All those in favor of scheduling the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0-0. Okay. Is there any other business you brought up?
None from staff, I believe.
It's just, one person questioned me about, we had, 2 months ago, I think, the golf course, there was mention about having a number of small parcels that they wanted to transfer over to the adjacent landowners who are using them anyway. And it was asked me if we had made any thoughts about that, any thoughts about that. And last I had talked, I guess it's still trying to figure out the legalities of how to do it.
Yes, that has been in the works. The golf course is interested in selling little chunks to all those owners.
So it's selling.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. However, the issue is that legally, we don't know if they can like subdivide all these things at once or how often they can do it, or how many they can do. So they're kind of figuring that out. However, Kirk's been working on that. It's more of an EDA issue currently right now, but we'll have more information, I guess, as time goes on. He's also interested, the golf course is interested in seeking how many people are interested in actually buying these as well before they make any action on that.
I'm one of them. People before me built a shed on golf course property. So, but what I understood though, isn't there a statute of limitations where if the building was built 7 years beforehand and you've been taking care of it, isn't there something written
I
in
think
the?
if you're paying taxes on it, and 15 years, I believe.
Is it 15? I mean, I've heard so many different from the
Right,
neighbors.
that's what I've heard was 15, so I don't know.
I don't know the exact number. That would be a great question for our attorney, so I can shoot him a
That's a big
message.
one.
Yeah.
Like the golf course would have to let you know, it says, yes, we know your shed is on our property. You know, we're not gonna worry about it right now, but just remind you, we know about it. They have
Yeah,
to,
that's what I was told.
so.
Yeah, and it might be weirder just because it is a kind of a private dispute potentially, and so it may not be city jurisdiction to get involved. And I'll ask our attorney when I have a chance to kind of see what he thinks. And as this kind of progresses, we'll have more information, but right now it's a little bit up in
They
the air.
told us all this liability, and so we thought, again, neighbors talking, that we would just sign something that, if anybody's hurt, there's just been a lot of scuttlebutt.
I just have to ask Fred on the park, when they found out the park boundaries and there was some buildings or some fences that were on park property, how was that handled?
99% of them moved their stuff. We had one shed that was 10 feet on our property that they had done. So we put a thing in there that if he sells, he has to move the shed, or if it blows over or something, he cannot rebuild on it and stuff. But everybody else, we did that because there was getting to be so much encroachments. You know, because this neighbor encroached and all, the new neighbor comes in and says, oh, my line must be here. So we, like, we didn't give an option to sell. We didn't want to sell any property.
Right.
We just, and 99% of them were good about it.
Okay. So anyway,
Might be like just existing non-conforming where they're just kind of there from the city's perspective. Whether we could do anything with them or not is kind of up for debate, but.
I just wanted to make sure it didn't get forgotten.
Yep, I have it noted. I didn't want to say anything just because I don't really know.
No, I'm curious, we've all been just, we got the letter and then, nobody says anything. And I'll go up to the golf course and I talk to Dan Bucher and I'm like, what's going on? Oh, nothing, don't worry about it. You don't need to worry about it. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, we heard from him maybe once or twice, but we are also kind of in the dark. There's a lot of things that we don't really know a ton about, so.
I don't think a lot. I think there's some on the golf course that are for this, the other ones are against. So I think there's even some internal.
Some people just landscaped it and it looks so much better and people are mowing down there, people are, so it's.
Well, and some of them, like just down from you,
Yeah.
they went across the creek and they're getting into.
Oh, put a bridge,
They
yeah.
put a bridge and stuff across.
Mowing over there?
Over.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's beautiful.
But, I mean, I can understand both sides.
Yeah, so, I just wanted, I'm just like, why would anybody
But
do that
on that-
knowing that they,
On that too, I know the guy that's kind of pushing this big time. I talked to him a lot, they want to sell some all along there. And I said, oh, to me, that creates a problem. You got every other one that wants to, so you got a line that goes like this.
Yeah.
So once again, then the next people that move in, it's like, oh, well, those two lines are bad. Mine must be there. So they're not going to get away from the
that's my
encroachment.
line.
To me, it's like either you sell it all to make a straight line there, but that's their deal.
Yeah, we had the same thing behind us. They wanted, couldn't get everybody to agree to buy their parcel, so, but, by the way. Okay, if there's no other business to be brought forward, I'll call the meeting adjourned at 6:03. Thank y'all.
Miles, we will check and see if there is a, statue.
Yeah, I'll check and see because,
Curious.
and again, we really haven't,
Built in 2005.
Yeah.
So,
we haven't really heard anything about it. So I will check and see with that, how we be talking with the attorneys later this week
That shouldn't back that.
on our,